class that that today we will start the because in last part till yesterday we have discussed all the siliciclastic environment. We discussed the continental, the shallow marine, as well as the deep marine environments. So whatever the possible environments, that all we have discussed. From today, we will start the other part of the syllabus, that is the chemical sediments. Okay. So till yesterday we were discussing all the siliciclastic sediment. Now we will start the discussion on the chemical sediment. And as you know, there are different kinds of chemical sediment. Number one, first important is carbonate. Then you have evaporite, then phosphorite, then chart, also iron formation, and it is not exactly chemical, but it is a biochemical sediment, biochemical, that is coal. Biochemical. Now, all these are sedimentary rocks, and they form by different chemical, and particularly iron and coal, of course, to some, many extent, the phosphorite chart also. I will not say that they are not. The carbonate also. There are role of biota in many of the chemical sediments, whether it is carbonate, phosphorite, chart, iron formation, coal. Every except the evaporite, the biotic influence is there in all these chemical sediments. But in our course, we will be discussing carbonate, evaporite, phosphorite, chart. Iron formation I will not discuss because the economic geology course, the iron formation is discussed in the economic geology, and you have a separate course of petroleum and coal. So coal also I will not discuss. I will discuss carbonate, evaporite, phosphorite, and chart. These four chemical sediments that I will be discussing. So today we will start with the carbonate. Carbonate. Now, what is the fundamental difference between siliciclastic and carbonate? The fundamental difference, as it is written in the book of Ginsberg, that where siliciclastics, this line you should always remember. Siliciclastics are formed, carbonates are born. This is a very famous sentence in the book of Ginsberg, that whereas siliciclastics are formed, carbonates are born. This simple sentence talks about the difference between the siliciclastic and the carbonate. That siliciclastics, even yesterday in the practical class, I was asking, what is the texture? You are saying fragmentary. So siliciclastics, they are actually the fragments of pre-existing rock. And that because of erosion, the weathering, the fragments of pre-existing rock, they are transported and deposited to form the siliciclastic sedimentary rock. And then there are different environment of deposition, different agencies of deposition, different energy condition of deposition. Already we have discussed that. But what about the carbonates? Carbonates are not dominantly the idea about the carbonate is that the carbonates are not the detrital rock. But carbonates are formed by means of the chemical process or biochemical process. So whereas this is formed by the physical process This is formed by the chemical or biochemical process. Chemical or biochemical process. This is basically so what is important here in the siliciclastic? The fluid flow, the shear stress, the density, the viscosity. These are the major factors in the siliciclastic. So in the siliciclastic, what are that? The fluid flow, its shear stress, the fluid density, viscosity, all of this we have discussed. These are important. What is important here? Here we are more important is the EH/pH condition of fluids. That is important for us. EH/pH condition is not important for siliciclastic. EH/pH condition of fluid, the salinity, that is important for us. So all the chemical and ionic property, that is important for us for the carbonate. So that is the fundamental difference. Now, the other difference is that whether you are in an equator or in a pole, there will be no problem in the siliciclastic sedimentation. Provided there is a fluid flow, there is availability of sediment, that will be transported. There is no problem. But there will be definitely a restriction of carbonate deposition if we go from the equator to the pole. Most of the carbonate sedimentation in the earth, that is confined between 30° north latitude to 30° south latitude. This is so if this is the equator, so up to 30° north to 30° south, this is the most carbonate prevalent zone of the earth where we get the best of the carbonate precipitation deposition. It is not that beyond that you do not get carbonate. You get carbonate, but that kind of carbonate that is different, their nature is different, and that is not very significant carbonate proportion of the total carbonate budget of the earth. About 80 to 90% of the carbonates that we get on the carbonate rocks and the carbonate sediments that we get on the surface of the earth, that is formed between the 30° north to the 30° south. This is the most prevalent zone of carbonate precipitation. Okay, so that means there is no restriction, no latitudinal restriction for any physical sedimentation, but there is significant latitudinal restriction in case of the carbonate sediment. This is the another difference between them. Okay, fine. Now, let us come to the carbonate sedimentation. How really? What is the process of carbonate sedimentation? How carbonates are formed and deposited? Now, as we know, all the cations and anions, they are basically supplied from the weathering profile of the continent. All the cations and anions, they are basically supplied from the weathering profile of the continents that we have already discussed in the weathering section when we discussed the. Similarly, the calcium ion, Ca+2, the carbonate ion, Ca-2, and bicarbonate ion. So calcium, carbonate ion, and this is bicarbonate. These are also supplied. These are also supplied by the weathering profile into the ocean. If we see the river water, carbonate and bicarbonate in river water, almost the total anion budget, within the total anion budget of the river, this carbonate and bicarbonate, they constitute about 49% of the total annual budget of the river water. If there is any problem in understanding, please stop me and discuss it. These carbonate and bicarbonate, they constitute 49% of the river water. And what is the calcium in the river water, it constitutes about 12% of cation budget of river water. Now, if we track these cations and anions in the marine water, then what we get? That this 49% of the river water anion budget, which is constituted by carbonate and bicarbonate, that becomes less than 1% in marine water. And calcium, which is in river water, which is the average percentage, is the 12%, that becomes around 1% in marine water. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, why it is so? Why, when I am getting that in the river water, the percentage is 49%, calcium is 12%, this is becoming in the marine water, they are less than 1% or 1%. Why it is happening? The answer is the residence time. Residence time. What is residence time? Residence time is the time for which a cation or anion that resides in the water column. That is called the residence time. The time for which any cation or anion resides in the water column. Both carbonate, bicarbonate and calcium, they have a low residence time compared to other cations and anions. What is the average residence time of the carbonate and bicarbonate? 1 year. This is the residence time of carbonate and bicarbonate. And what is the residence time of calcium? And this is whatever I have written, you may look, it is a very big number, but in comparison to the other residence times of cations and anions, they are smaller number. And that is the reason that this calcium, carbonate and bicarbonate, they very quickly get separated from the marine water column, and you get the concentration in the water column much less than the river water concentration. Now the question comes, how it is removed? That question I will separately answer, how it is removed. But one thing is clear, that they are getting removed. That carbonate, bicarbonate and calcium, they are getting removed. That there is no problem in that. Because we are measuring the concentration and we are seeing that there is a significant drop in the concentration of this cation and anion in the marine water compared to the river water. And the only reason can be that they are separated from the marine water. They are not residing, they are getting settled, they are getting separated. And that's why their concentration is low. Okay? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the question comes, how they get separated. Now the question comes, how they get separated. And this question, this residence time also, it actually answers you that why the marine water is saline. Because sodium and chlorine both has a very high residence time with respect to the calcium, carbonate and bicarbonate. And because they stay in the marine water for a long period of time, and that's why they make it the saline, the ocean water saline. They do not get settled. We will discuss that why, what happens, that why they do not get settled. Now, so now we have come to a question that how the calcium and carbonate and bicarbonate, they are getting separated from the marine water. They are getting separated by the deposition of carbonate rock. That is for sure. So how this deposition of the carbonate rock, that basically, so the equation that comes, this CO2 plus H2O plus CaCO3, this is a reversible reaction, Ca CaCO3, okay. Ca plus 2 HCO3 minus. Okay. Now, this is the equation. This is the equation, which is a reversible equation. Reversible equation. Now, what is the meaning of this equation? The meaning of this equation is that if I break this equation, the first equation, what becomes that CO2, the gas, it is basically getting dissolved in water. So CO2 is dissolved in water and thus giving the H2CO3. Carbonic acid. Carbonic acid. I am coming to this reaction. This is the final reaction. So there are two steps of this reaction. There are actually two steps of this reaction. The first is the CO2 is getting dissolved in water, forming the carbonic acid. This carbonic acid gets dissociated into H plus HCO3 minus. Okay. So then you get the bicarbonate. You are getting the carbonic acid dissociates and releasing the hydrogen and the bicarbonate. This bicarbonate then gets associated with COCO3 to make this reaction. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is actually happening? The entire reaction, you are actually releasing H plus. And if you increase the releasing the H plus, and then what is the definition of pH? Negative of logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration. Negative of logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration. Okay. So if I release more H plus, so what will happen? The pH will go down. pH will go down. pH will go down. And that so what is the meaning that pH will go down? That the water will become acidic. Isn't it? If pH concentration, if hydrogen concentration you increase in water, so the pH of the water will go down and the water will become acidic. So if you become acidic, that acidic water will definitely have a dissolution effect on the calcium carbonate crystal, CaCO, calcium carbonate crystal, and the reaction will proceed toward this direction, that it will release the calcium. So what is the net result? I increase more and more carbon dioxide into the water column. I pump more and more carbon dioxide in the water column. The reaction will proceed towards this side. More and more carbonic acid will form. More and more carbonic acid that will be dissociated to release more hydrogen. More hydrogen will make the water more acidic, and that more acidic water will dissolve more and more calcium carbonate and release the CaCa cation. So carbonates will go into dissolution. So just think of the reverse. I take away more and more carbon dioxide from the water. So carbon dioxide is actually taken out. Carbon dioxide is taken out. So what will happen? The entire reaction will go towards this direction. That means that lesser and lesser of carbonic acid form, lesser and lesser hydrogen ion released, the pH will increase, and the increased pH, that means alkaline condition, it will lead to an alkaline condition, and that alkaline condition will favor the deposition or precipitation of calcium carbonate, and reaction will proceed towards this side. This is the fundamental of carbonate. If there is any question here, please get it cleared right now.
सर एक बार दोबारा बता दीजिए।
Okay. So what is happening? That first you understand the entire dynamics of the reaction. That the complete reaction is CO2 plus H2O plus CaCO3 that will form the calcium and bicarbonate. This is a reversible reaction. That means reaction can proceed on both sides, which is according to the La Chatelier principle. Now, what will happen? This reaction has two parts. How this reaction? First, CO2 and H2O, they combine to form carbonic acid. The carbonic acid, it gets dissociated into hydrogen and bicarbonate. And then this hydrogen concentration that is related to the pH of the water column, because pH of the water column is negative of logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration. So if I increase the hydrogen concentration, the pH will decrease because the sign is negative, it will go down. And more the pH will decrease, that means the water become more acidic. And any acidic water that will cause a dissolution of calcium carbonate, and so the entire reaction is a dissolution reaction which will proceed towards this side, that the dissolution of calcium carbonate will release the calcium ion. Now if I take the entire thing in the reverse side, instead of pumping the carbon dioxide in the water, I am taking the carbon dioxide away. Carbon dioxide gas is being released from the water. So carbon dioxide, how it is done, that will come separately. Now you are only concentrated on the process. How you release the carbon dioxide, how you increase, that we will discuss separately. Now the carbon dioxide is taken out of the system. That means lesser and lesser carbon dioxide will be reacting with H2O, and carbonic acid formation will be much decreased. And that's why the hydrogen ion formation is also decreased, and the pH will rise. And pH will become more than 7.5. That is basically the alkaline condition. That if the pH is more than 7.5, if you have 7.8, 8, 8.2, these are the alkaline condition. And that alkaline condition, the reaction will move in the opposite direction. You will get the more calcium carbonate to be precipitated. So the simple relation is that I pump more CO2, more dissolution of CaCO3. I take away CO2, more precipitation of CaCO3. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Everybody is satisfied how really it is organizing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now this once you have understood the entire process, that how carbonate is precipitating, then the question comes that what are the other factors that control, because you are seeing that mainly the carbonate dissolution or carbonate precipitation, it is a factor of the CO2 pressure in water. So a gas, CO2 gas, that is basically controlling that carbonate will be precipitated or carbonate will be dissolved. Now, since it is controlled by the CO2 gas, what are the major factors that control the gas behavior? The two major factors that control the gas behavior is temperature and pressure. The pressure of gas behavior, that is controlled by Boyle's law, and the temperature control is by Charles' law. This you all know in your school days. So Boyle's law and Charles' law. What we know, that the volume of gas is proportional to 1 by T, and volume of gas is P T 1 by P. ठीक लिखा हूं ना मैं? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is Boyle's law and this is Charles' law. So what is happening? If you increase pressure, the gas volume will decrease. If you increase temperature, gas volume will increase. This simple logic I will be applying here. That as you go deeper and deeper into the ocean, so what will happen? That you will increase the water pressure in the deeper and deeper part of the ocean. Because I am going to 1 kilometer depth of ocean, 2 kilometer depth of ocean, there is a huge pressure increase. Isn't it? There is a huge pressure, rho GH. What is? The P is equal to rho GH. That is the average density of ocean water, 1.09 gram per cc. And then G and H is 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer. This is the depth of the ocean water. You can yourself calculate what is the kind of pressure you will be generating as you go. And because this is the relation, so what will happen in the deeper part of the ocean, the carbon dioxide gas volume will decrease. And this decreased carbon dioxide volume, that will cause more dissolution of carbon dioxide into the water. And if I have more dissolution of carbon dioxide into the water, I know the reaction will proceed towards this side, and more calcium carbonate or limestone will get dissolved. Similarly, if I come to the shallow water, then the pressure will drop. And as pressure will drop, then the volume will increase. And the volume will increase means that I will get lesser and lesser amount of carbon dioxide dissolved, because if I increase the volume of the gas, then the gas will try to escape. Gas will try to escape from the water column. And the more escape of the gas, that will cause the lesser carbon dioxide pressure in the shallow water, and that will cause the reaction to proceed towards this side, and the more the calcium carbonate precipitation. So we always get the more calcium carbonate precipitation in the shallow marine system compared to the deeper marine system. Deeper marine system, because of the high carbon dioxide pressure, there will be the more concentration of the CO2, and the reaction will proceed forward. The similar thing that will be with respect to temperature. Now, volume is proportional to temperature. Where is temperature will be? How actually is the ocean water temperature profile? What is the ocean water temperature profile? If you see, degree centigrade. So ocean water temperature profile, something like this. This is the ocean water temperature profile. In the surface of the ocean, the average temperature is 28 to 30 degree. 28 to 30 degree. And this temperature, it decreases to less than 5 degree within a depth of 1 kilometer, which is called thermocline. And what is the pressure profile in the ocean water? The pressure profile goes linearly. This is pressure. This is pressure, and this is temperature. Now,
the x-axis is not visible.
Which one?
The x-axis of diagram.
Left side.
नहीं सर, थोड़ा कैमरा को ऐसे कर दीजिए. x-axis नहीं दिख रहा.
Okay.
Yes sir.
This diagram you must have seen in other courses also. Teachers must have discussed. Now, what is the temperature profile? Temperature profile is that in the surface water, it is having about 30 degrees centigrade, and the temperature decreases. And that decrease, we call it the thermocline. And it becomes less than 5 degree within 1 kilometer depth. But the pressure increases linearly. pressure increases linearly. Now, what is pressure? Role of pressure we have already discussed. Now I am discussing the role of temperature. Now, in the surface water, because of the high temperature, you have the high volume of the gas. And this gas, that high volume means more escape of the gas from the water column, and that will also help in the more precipitation of the calcium carbonate in the top layer. But as you go down, the temperature drastically decreases, and as the temperature decreases, then the volume further decreases. And the volume decrease means that the more and more gas that will be dissolved in water. So both temperature and pressure that will help one another to get more carbonate dissolved in the deeper water. But both pressure and temperature help each other to have more carbonate precipitated in the shallow water. So most of the carbonate that get precipitated in the marine system in the shallow water. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now, question is that, now once we have discussed this, then the question comes, is this precipitation of carbonate is by inorganic or organic process? That is the next question. We are telling that carbonate will be precipitated, carbonate will be deposited, all these things are there. Now, question is that will this be a inorganic process or organic process? That is a big question. That is a big question, and people have bothered about it for a long time. But how much is the role of inorganic process? What I am discussing till now, all are inorganic process. I have not brought any kind of organic process in it. Now, will this inorganic process be sufficient to deposit the carbonate in the ocean, or you require a organic help for the precipitation of this? That becomes the next question. So people what people observe that the marine water. Okay, before I go into this, let me discuss. I will come to this topic later on. Let me discuss the carbonate mineralogy first, because carbonate mineralogy, once you understand, then it will be easier for you to understand the next discussion. So we'll come to the carbonate mineralogy. In carbonate, there are two kinds of mineral. One are called anhydrous mineral, anhydrous. Another is hydrous. In anhydrous, we get calcite, aragonite, vaterite. In hydrous, we get ekaite and calcium carbonate monohydrous. This is all the crystalline carbonate. We can also have ACC, which is amorphous calcium carbonate. Calcite has a structure which is hexagonal. Aragonite is orthorhombic. Vaterite is hexagonal. All this has a composition CaCO3. This is the composition. Now coming on to the hydrous type, ekaite it has a composition CaCO3 6H2O. This is CaCO3 H2O, monohydrous. And amorphous calcium carbonate, where the calcium carbonate do not have any crystalline structure, it is totally amorphous. We get it in echinoid coral. This is the amorphous calcium carbonate. So what we are discussing, calcium carbonate mineralogy. We first divided the carbonate minerals into anhydrous and hydrous. In anhydrous, where in the structure there is no water molecule, we have the calcite, aragonite and vaterite. Among these, the calcite and aragonite, these are two most stable forms. Vaterite is a much unstable form. Vaterite we do not get much in nature because they are extremely unstable. Even if they form, they change to calcite or aragonite. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And all of them, they have a composition CaCO3. Then we come on to the hydrous. There are two major forms of hydrous, ekaite, where there are 6 molecules of water in structure, and calcium carbonate monohydrous, where you have 1 molecule of H2O in structure. Besides these, which are all crystalline structure, we also have the amorphous calcium carbonate. And this amorphous calcium carbonate, where you do not get any crystal structure, proper crystal structure, we get in echinoid coral in this kind of thing. Now, what is most important, if I come to, we will be mostly concentrating in our this anhydrous mineralogy, because these minerals which are hydrous, which finally changes all to the anhydrous form. They release during deposition, they contain water, but finally they release during diagenesis all the H2O and finally change to the anhydrous. What is very important, the two major minerals, that is calcite and aragonite, these are the two major minerals which are important for us to understand carbonate and their diagenetic history. Carbonate and their diagenesis. So we will further concentrate on these two minerals, calcite and aragonite. Now, what I have written, that calcite, hexagonal, and aragonite, orthorhombic. So they are actually polymorph. That is, they have the same composition, CaCO3, but they are in two different forms, hexagonal and orthorhombic form. So they are polymorph. Their composition is same, but their form is different. Now, why really this is happening? How can this polymorph, what is the controlling factor of forming this polymorph? Because this is very important for us, because this knowledge will help us, because there is a major thing in carbonate, that is carbonate diagenesis, which is diagenesis we also discussed in siliciclastic, but the siliciclastic diagenesis is not a very significant factor, but the carbonate, the entire diagenesis is a very, very major factor, and that is responsible for the secondary porosity formation in the carbonate, which makes the carbonates the major reservoirs of water and oil, gas. So many reservoirs of the oil and gas, they are carbonate reservoir, and secondary porosity is one of the major reasons that they have become the hydrocarbon reservoir. And Only the diagenesis and secondary porosity formation, they are controlled by the original mineralogy of the carbon. One major control. So we want to know why the carbonate that is formed. Now, the basic thing is that any structure among these, hexagonal is a 6-fold structure, 6-fold. Orthorhombic is a 9-fold structure. 6-fold structure and a 9-fold structure. And that's why the hexagonal is a much more stable structure than the orthorhombic. Hexagonal is much more stable structure than the orthorhombic. And any structure which is stable requires cation less than 1 angstrom. So for making a stable structure, a 6-fold stable structure of hexagonal, which is a stable structure, you require cation. You people have studied mineralogy from Puttis, and you have an idea that how cation size that basically control the structure and the symmetry of the structure and the nature of the crystal form. So hexagonal, suppose I start with the cubic structure, then the hexagonal structure, then the orthorhombic structure, then the monoclinic structure, the triclinic structure. So if you go from the cubic structure to the triclinic structure, what you are basically getting, how we actually describe a crystal structure, by what parameter? How, suppose when we talk about cubic, talk about hexagonal, talk about orthorhombic, talk about monoclinic, talk about triclinic, then based on what criteria we actually tell, based on what criteria we identify, based on what criteria?
So it's sides and angles.
कोई एक बोलो. Hello?
Cell parameters.
Huh?
The cell parameters, size and
Yeah. What are those parameters?
size and angle.
Yeah, or anything else? Okay.
Lattice.
Yeah, lattice. I am talking about that. What parameter of the lattice that we basically talk about to identify the different structure. Yeah, you are trying. Good. We basically do it by means of A, B, and C. Whether they are equal to one another, they are not equal to one another, their relation between A, B, C, and the angular relationship. It is the dimension. I am talking about dimension. A is equal to B or equal to C, A not equal to B, equal to C, A equal to B, not equal to C. So all these relations. And the angular relation between A, B, C. That is alpha, beta, gamma. That whether they are 90 degree, they are not 90 degree. So these are the two relations. 3 axis A, B, C, they are equal or not equal to one another, and their angular relation, they are 90 degree or not in 90 degree. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So ये तो पूछने से तुरंत बोलना चाहिए ना clearly. That basically guides that what will be the crystal form. And according to that, if you see hexagonal and orthorhombic, hexagonal is a much better and stable form, whereas orthorhombic is a relatively unstable form. Now, why calcium, it is occupying both stable and unstable form? That is the question. That why calcium as a cation, because any cation, that either it will go to stable form, or, and as I said, that all the cations which has a lesser size than 1 angstrom, they prefer the stable form, and the cations which are more than 1 angstrom, they prefer the unstable form. Now, calcium has a size 0.99 angstrom, which is very close to 1 angstrom, and that gives it the advantage of occupying both stable and unstable form. Stable hexagonal में भी जा रहा है, hexagonal, or unstable orthorhombic. It has, because it is very close to 1, so it goes to both the structure. And when it goes to the stable hexagonal structure, you form calcite. When it goes to the more unstable orthorhombic structure, you form the aragonite. Okay? Yes, there are some factors. It is not that it is a whimsical. कभी इसको लगा उसमें चले जाए, कभी लगा इसमें चले जाए, ऐसा नहीं है. It is not like that. There are some other factors that, as we will be discussing the course, we will say what are the factors that basically guide it. Now this, in the calcium structure, in the calcite structure or aragonite structure, the calcium cation, it may be replaced by, we know that the cations get replaced if the replacing ion has the similar size or similar charge. So depending on the size and charge, the cations get replaced. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, which cations will replace calcium in the hexagonal structure? The iron, magnesium, manganese. These are the structure, they replace calcium in the hexagonal structure. Okay? Whereas lead, strontium, barium, these are the cations. Can you see it? Lead, strontium, barium, these are the cations that replace calcium in the orthorhombic structure because they have a size more than 1 angstrom. And these are all less than 1 angstrom. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they replace in orthorhombic structure, they replace in the hexagonal structure. If lead replace calcium, then you get the mineral called cerussite. Strontium when replaced, then strontianite. Barium if replaced, that is witherite. Just coming for 1 minute. Okay. So, is it okay till now? Okay. Now, there is calcite and aragonite. Now, what is the, there is further variation within it. Now, this calcite, as I have discussed, that the magnesium can replace calcium in the calcite structure or the hexagonal structure. So, depending on the percentage of magnesium, the calcite again is divided into low magnesium calcite and high magnesium calcite. What is the percentage? What will be the divider? That is 12% magnesium. That means if you have more than 12% of calcium ions in the calcite structure replaced by magnesium, then you have the high magnesium calcite. But if the magnesium percentage is less than 12, and why they have divided it at 12%? Because the behavior of the two completely different. Their stability becomes completely different. Definitely, if you disturb the structure by more foreign cations, that will become more susceptible for dissolution. That will be more disturbed structure. So what is observed is that if you replace calcium by magnesium more than 12%, that really disturb the structure and the structure become more dissolvable. And that's why a low magnesium calcite and high magnesium calcite. And if the magnesium content, it increases more than 18 to 20%, then you get dolomite. We'll discuss dolomite separately. Okay? So, now what we are actually concerned about, so our next discussions, all discussions, that will be basically concentrated on 3 minerals of carbonate. 1, low Mg calcite. 2, high Mg calcite. And 3, aragonite. Our next discussions, that will be concentrating on 3 minerals. Now question comes, how is the solubility of the 3 minerals? Are these 3 minerals, their solubility is same, or one has the lesser solubility than the other? How is the solubility of the different? To draw this diagram, then I am describing. Have you drawn it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what is shown in this diagram? On this axis is percentage of carbonate. That means the percentage that is present in the water column. Now, in the water column, what is the percentage that the more stable a mineral, it will have the higher percentage. And the more it is unstable, that it will not be present and it will go into dissolution, go into ionic form. So what is shown here, that this is the percentage of carbonate in the water column. And this is the carbonate minerals in terms of Mg percentage in CaCO3 structure. Okay. These are different carbonate minerals in terms of, that is the how much is the percentage of Mg in the CaCO3 structure. So you have a very low Mg, and it is very stable. So its percentage of low Mg calcite, it is very high proportion of the volumetric proportion in the water column, and the low Mg is making is, but as you increase in Mg, so high Mg, that is much lesser. Their concentration is less because the Mg is high and it is more dissolvable. Now, what is aragonite? Aragonite is not the calcite structure. I was discussing the high and low based on the calcite structure. Now, what is the solubility of the aragonite? What is seen that aragonite solubility, I am talking about that, think about a distilled water, and you take the high Mg calcite and aragonite. What is the dissolution capacity of aragonite is equivalent to what percentage of Mg calcite? It is found that aragonite dissolution is equivalent to dissolution level of 12.5% of MgCO3 bearing calcite. This may be 12.5%. Is it clear, or I further discuss?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what this diagram has said, the most stable is low Mg calcite. Then is aragonite, and its stability is equivalent to calcite with 12.5% Mg CO3. Then high Mg calcite with MgCO3 more than 12.5% in calcite. So as you move from this to this, you have the more unstable. Am I clear?
Yes, yes, sir.
So this is the relative stability of the carbonate minerals. Relative stability of the carbonate minerals. Okay. Now, I will come to the discussion which I left in between, and then I entered the carbonate mineralogy. I again go back to that question, that in the ocean, that carbonate precipitation, how much it is organically, how much it is inorganically motivated. Initially, people thought, in the early, it is in the 60s and 70s, there was a thinking process. Yes, the precipitation of carbonate, that is in form of the chemical precipitation or inorganic precipitation. That was the original thinking. But what people observed that really do not match with that thinking. What people observed? They observed that the ocean water, when they measured the ocean water, what they found that ocean water is six times supersaturated with respect to calcium, and 4 times supersaturated with respect to aragonite. This is what they observed. That ocean water is 6 times supersaturated with respect to calcite and 4 times supersaturated with respect to aragonite. What does it mean? It means that very easily these minerals are not getting precipitated from ocean water. They are remaining in the ocean water. Otherwise, ocean water would not have been so much supersaturated with respect to these minerals. And that created a lot of confusion. Then why they are not deposited? Why they are not getting deposited? Then that question came. And two factors that was highlighted that this is the reason the ocean water is not getting the carbonate minerals and not inorganically and very easily is not getting precipitated from the ocean water. What are those factors? The number one is non-dissociative character of carbonate and bicarbonate ions. This is the first. What they say that, as if you remember the reaction of carbonate formation, that you have to have the carbonic acid dissociated. Now this carbonic acid or the carbonate and bicarbonate, they are not getting dissociated in the ocean water. Am I clear what I am telling? And that is making the ocean water a buffered solution. Ocean water is a buffered solution. Buffered. That means its pH always varies between 7.8 to 8.3. Ocean water pH cannot be less than this and more than this. It is a very highly buffered. And why it is getting buffered? Because these carbonate and bicarbonate, they are becoming non-dissociative. If they become dissociative, then the pH buffering cannot be maintained in the ocean water. Then the ocean water can be very acidic or very alkaline. And that thing happened sometime in the earth history. That ocean water, possibly there is model of the ocean water become very acidic and the large scale extinction of the organisms took place. Because organisms which are making their taste by the carbonates, they will get totally dissolved and the full organism, they will get die. Because you cannot allow the ocean water to be entirely acidic. So ocean water, you have to keep it buffered. And how it is been buffered? Because of the non-dissociative character of the carbonate and bicarbonate. And that basically is not allowing the carbonate to be precipitated in a large scale. This is number one, the reason that they talked about. And number two, is this logic understandable to you? Okay. And the number two logic that they are giving, that in ocean water, the Mg is to Ca ratio is 3:1. That magnesium is 3 times to that of calcium in ocean water. Mg is to Ca ratio is 3:1. So, since the magnesium concentration is high, and the magnesium size is less than calcium. So always the magnesium, it tries to enter into the calcite structure, replacing calcium. And at the same time, the magnesium ion is highly hygroscopic. Hydro. That means Mg, it gets associated with HOH and form MgOH2, which is called brucite. So on one hand, Mg try to replace calcium. On the other hand, Mg is trying to get associated with H2HOH bonding of the water. So what finally it will do? It will not allow the calcite crystal to be precipitated. So it is hindering the calcite precipitation. Mg is hindering the calcite precipitation. One is that the pH of the water, it is a highly buffered solution because of non-dissociative character of carbonate and bicarbonate. And second is the Mg is to Ca ratio is 3:1, and Mg on one hand trying to replace calcium in the structure, on the other hand it is trying to combine with the water and thereby totally destabilizing the calcite structure. Is it clear? Am I clear to you that why carbonate on its own is not getting precipitated in the marine water?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So overall, people then started believing that the inorganic precipitation of carbonate is not very easy. Not very easy. Though the seawater is saturated and oversaturated, it is not very easy that the large scale. Then when people were thinking like this, then another observation came to light. That is from the Persian Gulf and Dead Sea. Another observation that came to light. That is from the Persian Gulf and Dead Sea. What people observed, a phenomena that is called whiting. Whiting. What is whiting? But they observed a large portion of the ocean is becoming white. There is a huge white patch, several hundreds of kilometers in the ocean. That is a huge white patch that was observed. Now, what is this white patch when they try to see? These are microcrystalline calcite. What they found, it is a very fine-grained carbonate. Then people started saying, how come this microcrystalline calcite that is being formed, a fine-grained carbonate? So those who are believer of the inorganic theory, they started telling, see, this is the proof that the inorganic precipitation is taking place. Then who are opponent of this inorganic precipitation theory, then they say, no, it is not by inorganic precipitation. That may be the resuspension. That may be resuspension of already settled carbonate in the basin floor. Already settled carbonate is got resuspended because of turbulent flow, any high energy flow, or by the bottom feeding organisms. The already settled carbonate got resuspended, and that's why you are seeing it. So they were divided. There was a divided view that some people say it is a proof of inorganic precipitation. Some people say no, it is a resuspension of already settled carbonate on the basin floor by means of organic activity or by means of any kind of strong flow. Then this remains a problem that how to describe the whitings, inorganically or organically. Then a paper came in 2000 2000 by Sheen et al. Sheen et al. Sheen et al. What they tried, what they did, they collected sample from the whiting and did the stable isotope, stable carbon isotope, Del 13C. You must be knowing what is Del 13C. Do you know that? Del 13C क्या है ये पता है क्या? Hello. Del 13C पता है. Now carbon. We know the isotopes can be two types. One is radiogenic. Another is stable isotope. Radiogenic isotopes are those which are radiogenically decay, alpha decay, gamma decay. So those are radiogenic. And stable isotopes are those which do not decay, which only change their proportion depending on different physical process and biological process. They do not decay. No radiogenic process involved. They are stable. In case of carbon, the 14C, it is a radiogenic. And 14C is used for the dating purpose, for the geochronology, dating purpose. You know the age of plant, that is basically dated by the 14C. Now, stable isotope is those which are not used for geochronology and not radiogenic in nature. For carbon, there are two stable isotopes, that is 13C and 12C. 13C and 12C. Now, these two, so 13C is a heavier isotope and 12C is a lighter isotope. Now, these two are basically modeled in terms of some standard. One standard that is used for the carbon isotope measurement, that is called PD belemnite. PD belemnite. PD belemnite. Now, you know it is a PD belemnite, belemnite is a fossil. And the belemnite fossil classed, the proportion of the 12C and 13C measured from the belemnite, that is considered as a standard for measurement of the carbon isotope from the different sedimentary rock. They are causing standard. Okay? So what we do, what is Del 13C? If I measure Del 13C from a sample, that is equal to 13C by 12C in sample minus 13C by 12C in standard by 13C by 12C in standard into 1000. What we do, this we do by the machine called mass spectrometer. Mass spectrometer. In mass spectrometer, we actually take carbonate and ionize it so that the isotopes, they depending on their mass, they basically get differentiated in different cups. So the carbon 13 is collected in a cup and 12C, it is all depending on the mass. And there is a magnetic field. So different mass is attracted differently, and we separate the two different isotopes and measure the isotopes of the sample. I think these things should be discussed in the earth system science and all these things. These are not discussed. Hello. Oh, I'm wrong. Aditi? Aditi, are you online? प्रीतम इज ऑनलाइन.
यस सर.
अच्छा, जो फॉर्मूला मैं लिखा हूं लास्ट में, इट इज मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 100 आई बिलीव, नॉट 1000, isn't it? Hello.
हाँ सर.
Yes.
1000 sir, not 100.
Oh, 1000. Students, do you have any question here? No, ये समझ में आया डेल 13C?
यस सर.
क्या समझ में आया, सब बताओ मेरे को. कोई एक बताओ ये क्या है. अरे यार, थोड़ा सा क्लियर कर लो. जो भी है खाली यस सर बोल के फायदा नहीं है. ये सिमिलरली ऑक्सीजन का भी करते हैं हम लोग. 16O एंड 18O इसका भी करते हैं, बट वहां स्टैंडर्ड दूसरा ही कुछ होता है. उसमें स्टैंडर्ड मीन ओशेनिक वाटर, स्मो, SMOW, स्मो, स्टैंडर्ड मीन ओशेनिक वाटर, उसको स्टैंडर्ड लेते हैं. यहाँ जैसे बेलेमनाइट को स्टैंडर्ड ले रहा है, वहां दूसरे किसी को स्टैंडर्ड लेते हैं. स्टैटिग्राफी चल रहा है ना तुम लोगों का? हेलो.
यस सर.
सर, स्टैटिग्राफी में जियोक्रोनोलॉजी नहीं डिस्कस हुआ है. द डिफरेंट टेक्निक्स ऑफ जो जैसे RBSR, SMND, यूरेनियम लेड, ये सब सिस्टमेटिक्स डिस्कस हुई है.
अभी तो नहीं है, मे बी आगे. अभी बायोस्टैटिग्राफी है.
मैं कोई ये सब सिस्टमेटिक्स डिस्कस अभी तक नहीं हुई है. ओके. So this is so I am not going into that now again. If I go back, that what I am getting is that people collected sample from Whiting and did the Del 13C, and what they said that the Del 13C, it is not matching with the settled sediment. जो वो नहीं था, जो resuspension, that is not supporting. In that case, that Del 13C value of the Whiting should have matched with the already settled carbonate, but that is not matching. So they said that genetically they are not same. Then how you will describe the Whiting? If they are genetically, they are not a resuspended material, then the theory came that this might have been deposited in the water column only in the presence of photosynthetic microalgae. That in the water column, the photosynthetic microalgae, they basically is provoking photosynthetic microalgae by means of photosynthetic process. They are provoking the carbonate precipitation. Now, what is photosynthetic process? What is photosynthetic process? That 6CO2 plus 6H2O, that becomes C6H12O6 plus 6O2. This is photosynthetic reaction. Am I clear? So what you are doing, that you are the photosynthetic reaction that is causing the carbon dioxide to be removed from the water column. वाटर कलम से कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को रिमूव कर रहा है by the photosynthesis, and that is causing the drop in carbon dioxide pressure in the water column and help in the carbonate precipitation. That is the theory that is given, and in this the dinoflagellate, the coccolith, they also help. Phytoplanktons, coccolith, dinoflagellate, all these that help in the process, phytoplanktons. And they do the photosynthetic reaction. And the photosynthetic reaction actually help in the, because otherwise ocean water cannot do it. It is a buffered solution. You have to do some other factor. And I am telling you, in the entire Phanerozoic, otherwise how the carbonate is getting settled, it is by the organic activity. That the organisms, they make their shell. Some organisms make their shell by calcite, some combination by calcite and aragonite, some by aragonite, some by high Mg calcite. So organisms, they basically take the carbonate from the water column by their vital factor. So only inorganic process is not capable. Either you are taking help of the photosynthesis, or you are taking help of the organisms which by their vital factor, that is basically scrapping the carbonate from the water column. Already carbonate is supersaturated with respect to calcite and aragonite. So organisms, they are basically scrapping it by their vital factor and making their shell. And after their death, that the carbonate shell and their fragments, they get settled in the water column, and most of the Phanerozoic carbonates are precipitated, are formed by that. It is the bioplastic. So what we are doing, saying here, that though this is the process of carbonate formation, but by inorganic process, it is not very easy for the precipitation of carbonate. You require some other factor to trigger it. One factor is the photosynthesis by the microalgae, by the phytoplankton. The other factor is the organism, they make their shell by means of carbonate, which they scrap from the water column and already saturated water column. Now this photosynthetic bioalgae, by photosynthesis, people, you know that it is not only carbonates, they are in the Phanerozoic. Even in the Precambrian, there are large carbonate deposition. You go to Vindhyan, go to Chhattisgarh, go to Kadapa, there are large scale deposition of carbonate. And those carbonates are micritic, very fine grained carbonate. If the carbonate cannot be deposited inorganically, then how you can explain the Precambrian carbonate? Because in Precambrian, there is no bivalve, no gastropod, no ammonite, no belemnite. You had none. There was no as such life form. So how we explain the Precambrian carbonates? The only way the Precambrian carbonate and the micritic carbonate, and this has been explained, that this is actually inorganic precipitation triggered by photosynthetic algae, photosynthetic phytoplanktons, that the single-celled organism that evolved at that time. So they basically provoked the carbonate precipitation in the water column, and that got settled, and that formed the finally get trapped and finally get trapped or finally get associated, and you got the formation of stromatolites. Is the thing getting clear? I'll stop it now. I will further extend this discussion in the next class. If you have any problem in this discussion, if you do not feel very comfortable in some portion, you please revert it back to me.
So I didn't understand why pressure drop helps in precipitation of carbonate.
Pressure drop, because the pressure, if you drop the pressure, then what will happen? That the volume of gas will increase. And any increase in the volume of gas that will cause the release of gas from the water column. Suppose you have a cold drinks bottle. You open the bottle, that means you are releasing the pressure. What you get? That there is a bubbles that come out because the gas was earlier under a pressure kept in the bottle, cold drinks bottle. As you open it, you are releasing the pressure, the gas is coming out. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So what is happening? You are putting the gas under pressure into the liquid. And if you keep the cold drinks bottle for some time open, then after that कोई मजा ही नहीं आता है पीने में. क्यों? जो गैस निकल गया है वो झाग ही नहीं है, वो झांकी नहीं है क्योंकि गैस निकल गया है. Same thing happens in carbonate. That you drop the pressure, the gas will be released from the water column. And if gas released, then the entire reaction will proceed backward. And backward proceed of the reaction that will cause the precipitation of carbonate. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So please read all these things, and if there is any further question, there can be question. And I expect question. If there is no question, that means many things are not understood. Then I will be happy to answer it in the next class. Thank you.
Thank
Sir.
you, sir.
Hello.
Sir.
हाँ बोलो.